got some Detroit Lions news for you folks today, and in this video, we're going to break it all down. Should the Detroit Lions look to add a couple of free agents? We're going to be talking about here Kenny Golladay, former Detroit Lion, and Yannick Ngakoue, the edge rusher from the Indianapolis Colts. Also, should the Detroit Lions make a trade for an edge rusher to beef up that defensive line, someone we're familiar with over here? But before we get into today's video, if you're a fan of the Detroit Lions and you're watching this unsubscribed, I say, what in the hell? Literally, that's all I do on this channel is Detroit Lions, news and rumors. We do live shows in season and off season with live watch parties and having a great time doing so. Let's get into this video. I have been challenged by Chat Sports. They said, get to 500 likes. You can't do it. This is the lull period. I said, BS. This is the Pride. Pride Nation can get it done. So let's get past 500 likes in this video. Let's get into a player the Detroit Lions could be linked to signing here. And we know who he is. Former Detroit Lions wide receiver Kenny Golladay. Here it says, almost nothing went right for Golladay once he cashed in for Detroit in the emergence back in 2021 free agency, Cody Benjamin, but the ex-Giants big frame would become as more a secondary option now that the Lions would have their sights on a playoff run, especially Jameson Williams suspended the first part of the year, and he's talking about should the Detroit Lions re-sign him, and we've been seeing this on multiple sites. I talked about this the other day, so again, I think for the Lions, they really don't need to sign Kenny Golladay. We do have a Marvin Jones Jr., we have good wide receivers, and yes, Jameson Williams is out for the first 6 weeks. But, folks, our offense still rolled very high with our weapons out last year. Why? Because we got Ben Johnson. Jared Goff is comfortable with this offensive line. We have running back like a Jahmyr Gibbs who can be a pass catcher as well. So I think the need to get Kenny Golladay is overboard. I don't think the Lions need to sign him at all. My personal opinion, to compete for a 53, I would like to see the young guys like Green, who we picked up in the 7th round, compete to make this roster. But that is just me. So the question for this video, would you sign Kenny Golladay? Put S for sign or P for pass in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you think on this one. Other players the Lions look good to get is, one of them is Yannick Ngakoue, someone that we have not seen really connected to the Detroit Lions really at all, except for today when I woke up and seen some articles on should the Detroit Lions look to get Yannick Ngakoue, add him to this pass rushing football team and make it even better. Now, when you think of Yannick Ngakoue, he's not a scrub, folks. Last year, he played in 15 games. He had 9.5 sacks, 18 solo, and 1 forced fumble. Yes, he's been from team to team to team to team, but this guy is still getting it done. He's still making noise at the edge position. So there is value there from what he brings to the football team. And in all honesty, I feel like his personality that, when he was younger was a little bit more immature, but last couple of years, I feel like he's definitely matured, and this is more of him finding the right fit, but he is a net asset to the defensive line for sure. So for me personally, if the Lions were to give him a contract, would I be upset? Not really, because you definitely want waves of pass rushers, and he still has some in the tank. With that said, I'm not really sure the exact type of contract he is looking for. You think it'd be a little bit higher end, not top-notch free agent money, nothing there, but maybe a one-year deal, maybe $13 million, something right there for what he produces. I'm not sure that the Detroit Lions exactly are able to pay that type of money. Yes, we got the money in cap space right now, but maybe they want to hold it a little bit for other positions that they could bulk up before they make a playoff run or something of that nature, like we've seen other teams do that pick up players like the Philadelphia Eagles with Ndamukong Suh last year, the end of the season, to kind of complement a whole roster. So they could be saving that money there. Maybe it's a little bit less. Maybe he's not caring too much about the money and he would like to just be with a team that's going to make a playoff run. Don't really know that there, but the Lions got really good edges for this football team. Charle Harris, right now, Romeo Okwara, Aidan Hutchinson, Joshua Paschal. You look through it, we got some depth there. John Kaminsky, who plays inside and outside, so they're not forced to do something like that. They're really not. They can really look to maybe bolster other positions besides edge. But if the Lions were to get him, it's not a bad thing, and I'm not opposed to it because you want to have talented players with consistent rotation in and out on the defensive line to hit those quarterbacks because it is a long season. It is 17 games now. And folks, not everybody's going to be healthy throughout the 17-game season, so having that depth there of quality talent is always a damn good thing. Folks, you need to follow me on Twitter at Mike Kimber, or you can look me up at Mike or Mike. That's my old name there. You can find me. Easy to find, folks, for that. But go ahead and follow me on Twitter. As we continue on, what about another edge rusher the Detroit Lions could look to get on their football team, but not in free agency? What about in a trade? A player that keeps coming up here is someone we're familiar with, and that is Chase Young, the edge rusher from the Washington Commanders. Now, he is a big body. He's not 6'2", he's 6'5", 264. He was the second overall pick in 2019, and you all remember who he picked at 3. That was Jeffrey Okudah. Now, you say, why is this man potentially on a trade block? Well, he has been injured with his tenure as a Washington Commander. It is not his ability, it's availability, and there is potentially some issues with him and the personnel and leadership from the Washington Commanders, but let's be honest here. The Washington Commanders' leadership is a train wreck. Good chance that they get a new owner. Good chance that could end up being a new GM and a new head coach at some point. Their team is a little bit in disarray, and they're in the NFC East, where you got teams like the Giants emerging, Dallas Cowboys, who is pretty good, and the Philadelphia Eagles, who went to a Super Bowl. The odds of the Washington Commanders being a team that you got to look out for, or playoff contenders on a consistent basis, seems unlikely. And so if you're a young player like Mr. Chase Young, no pun intended, you may want to get moved out of that situation to a better situation. Now, he is a player that has a lot of talent. He can be a disruptive force when on the field, and that is the question mark. How much would he be on the field? They didn't pick up his fifth-year option over there, so how much will you have to pay him? What would the draft cost be for a trade? Now, personally, when I look at the draft cost, I think it's probably a mid-round pick, 4th or 5th round, because they did not pick up his fifth-year option. They lose leverage in that, knowing that he's probably not going to be there for the long haul. Another team would want to see some productivity from him, and with the question marks with his injuries as well as his future, they're not going to offer more capital to acquire some talent. If we got him, what would he bring? Well, Chase Young, again, is immense talent. You put him with the rotation of Aidan Hutchinson and Romeo Okwara and Charle Harris and Joshua Paschal. The names go on, even with Lee McNeil as well as Broderick Martin. That defensive line looks damn good. It's just like we talked about with Yannick Ngakoue. It really is, and you don't need Chase Young to be the every down guy. You don't need him to be Aidan Hutchinson. You don't. We have Aidan Hutchinson. He can go a situation where he was the main guy in Washington to be a rotational player here. So if you're not paying that much in money, You're not paying that much in draft capital. It does make some sense for the Lions to make a phone call over there to the Commanders and say, hey, we would like to see if we can get him to this football team. Because, look, when you're making a playoff run, you want your depth pretty much at all positions to be absolutely tight. And again, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, their defensive line is ridiculous. Their their low-end, back-end depth players are starters for other teams, and if you were to do that here in Detroit, it just makes the team better. Ultimately, in fourth quarters, and again, we talked about Yannick with injuries upon the defensive line, you'll be able to be flexible with talent, and you can consistently get after the quarterback with talented players. It is a risk, but I think if you were to offer a fourth or a fifth round draft pick for a Chase Young, I think that's worth the risk. You can take a 2025 fifth-round pick that we did with Jeffrey Okudah and throw that over there to the Washington Commanders. You basically be trading in Okudah for Chase Young and kind of redoing the draft a little bit right there, and I don't think it would be a bad situation if the Lions were to make a phone call and do that. Do I think he gets traded? He could get traded to another team. Again, I don't know. The Washington Commanders' command structure is nothing but kind of distorted right now, so they're probably willing to do anything, and it just depends what teams would like it. Could the Detroit Lions? They could. I actually don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Will they? I don't know. Probably not, but there has been connections there, and when there's connections, you got to make videos, and we got to talk about it and debate about it. That's what this platform is all about, is debates, topics, and things to get, conversations about. But let me know in the comment section, what is your thoughts on potentially trading for a Chase Young? Let me know if you want to do it. T for trade or P for pass. We got videos dropping every single day here on my channel. Thursday, live, 4 p.m., and when the games start back up, live watch parties on my channel as well. So with that said, folks, adios.